So let's talk about what formal writing is, what informal writing is. The formal writing is all about being professional. Whom can you actually write to? Any business, company, enterprise, then we have corporation, any government office, for example, any local council. This is whom you're addressing to, and it comes into formal. In fact, writing to your boss is also all sorts of formal writing. Okay, where do we talk about informal writing? Could be your colleagues, could be your friends, okay, your family members, all right, and relatives, etc. So this is whom you're addressing to. You're addressing to these people. Informal writing, formal writing. IELTS General Writing Task 1. This is how you're going to use formal writing, and this is going to be informal. I think this is pretty much simple and clear to understand. So how do you open up the letter? Okay, let's talk about opening. So you open up the letter with "Dear Sir, Madam," okay, or you can talk about "Dear Mr. Paul," or whatever the person's name is. And once you're talking about opening up here, it's going to be different. You can simply say the name of the person, "Dear John," "Dear Abrar." My friend's name is Abrar. This is basically the exact same name I also used in my writing task 1. So I actually used "Dear Abrar," and could be any name, any religion, anyone. I mean, you don't even have to use John, Paul, or the most common ones. For example, you can write Shrita, you can write Hassan. If you're belonging from India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal, you can write any one of the names that seems like a local native name. That actually adds a good, unique local touch to your writing. This is how you open up for the first part. And for formal, where you write "Sir," "Madam," or "Mr," and here you just write the name of the person, "Dear." Okay, then comes the opening sentence. Opening sentence. So the opening sentence is going to be a bit professional here, and it can be informal here. Now, here it is going to be something like, "I'm writing to express my satisfaction or my dissatisfaction. I'm writing to launch a formal letter of complaint," or "I'm writing a formal letter of complaint." Sentences like these. Here it's going to be, "Hey, I hope you're doing great. It has just come to my knowledge that you're coming to my city, and you're planning a next trip here. I would love to have you at my..." You see the level of excitement, the tone of the language is totally different here. So let's talk about the opening sentence. Here it is going to be, "I hope my letter finds you well," or you write, "I am writing to express my satisfaction," or you can write "dissatisfaction," all right, or you can write "express my concerns," etc. "I'm writing to express my concerns or dissatisfaction or satisfaction," etc. regarding whatever the issue is, regarding an issue, or a problem, etc. Okay, and here you can have it in a totally different tone. You can talk about, I am thrilled to know that you are planning your next trip to my city, to my city. Okay, I am writing to share valuable tips and advice before your packing. Okay, or you can say before you start getting ready. Actually ran out of space here, so that's why I couldn't write it. You can say, I'm writing to share valuable tips and advice before you're packing, or I'm writing to share valuable tips and advice before you started to pack, or before you start to actually plan the trip. Okay, you can write anything like that. So these are the two main differences. I'm gonna go on, grab another piece of paper. Opening is this is how you open a formal. This is how you open an informal. This is the exact word, my friend's name, I used in my task one. It means it is perfectly fine if you don't want to use John, Paul, if you don't want to use Mark, Smith, or any of those generic common names. You can be a bit more specific. Talk about your friend's name. In fact, when you write a letter to your friend as an informal letter, it is actually going to help you, because it's going to visualize that problem and allow you to come up with a solution. That's exactly what happened with me. So let me go on, grab another piece of paper, and continue this information. Okay, so we've talked about two important aspects. The type of, three aspects in fact. The type of people that you can write to, a formal or informal letter, the opening, as well as the opening sentences, the type of sentences that you can use to open up. Now we're going to talk about the situations that can lead to writing a formal or an informal letter. And here it goes. If you want to write a formal letter, it is going to be in multiple categories. For example, the first one is if you want to write a letter of complaint. If you want to complain about, for example, road construction, okay, that is making a lot of noise. If you want to complain about your internet, okay, or power outages, I'm just giving you example situations, okay? Or if you want to talk about, let's suppose you want to return a package to the company, and you want either a refund, or you want it to be returned back with a new product, whatever it is. These types of complaints all come a part of your formal writing. Then we have number two. It is going to be a request. So what type of request is it? It could be a refund request. It could be holiday approval request from your company. Okay, it could be a bank loan request. Now, I haven't really come across any IELTS writing task one where you have to write a 150 words letter for a bank loan. I mean, it just really doesn't work, but I'm just giving you an example. I'm just giving you an idea. All right. If you want to reserve something, reservation at a hotel, reservation at a hotel, at a restaurant, etc. Okay, this is a request, this is a complaint, then letter of inquiry. Okay, letter of inquiry, you're inquiring something, information, booking, etc. All right, then you are talking about recommendation, like you want a job recommendation letter. Okay, and you can talk about your from your job or colleague. All right, or recommendation from someone who's in the field of professional line of work. Yeah, could be for a job or a colleague. Then you have point number 5 as a suggestion, letter of suggestion. Okay, and the type of suggestion, it could be ideas, plans, solutions. Okay, and let's suppose another could be for the working class applying for a job. This is not exactly the same as this, because this is another category of formal writing where you're asking for a recommendation for your job, either from your employer or from your colleague, and this is you're formally applying for a job. This is where it comes in. Okay, all right, so what type comes in informal? Let's talk about the informal. So the first type that comes in informal is invitation, letter of invitation. Okay, what type of invitation? For example, could be a party, it could be a family function. Okay, it could be a dinner. Okay, it could be a wedding celebration. It also could be holidays, any sort of holidays. I'm inviting my friend to come over on a holiday, and if you're writing a letter to a friend, it's an informal letter. Okay, then we have another one, and that is a request. Now we have a request here, we have a request here. How would we know which one is formal and which one is informal? Okay, so when you're writing a request for a refund, for a holiday approval to your colleague, to your employer, for a bank loan, for a reservation, that is all formal, because you are writing to a company, to a business, to a corporation. It has to be formal, but it can be informal if you're writing a request to your friend, to your colleague. Okay, if you're writing a request to your family member. All right, if you're writing a request asking for help. Okay, so any sort of request that asks for help, that asks for advice or solutions, if you're stuck in a problem, that comes in informal. Next up, we have letter of thanks. A letter of thanks can again be sent or can be written, or thanks or appreciation, to family members, to friends, to relatives, etc. All right, then we are up to the type number 4. It is suggestions. Here the suggestion is different than here. Here the suggestion is that there's a problem at a company and you want to apply with a possible solution so that you can be hired. This is one idea here. Here, one of your friends is having problems in their lives and you provide a solution with a suggestion on what could be done. And whom you can address these letters to, what type of, you can suggest ideas, plans, etc. to your friends, family members. Okay, so in short, anything that you write to a government organization, to a local council, to a company, corporation, an enterprise, any business, small or large, is a formal. Could be a restaurant, any company, any person that represents a business is formal. And if you're not writing to a business, it all comes to informal. So we have now covered 4 parts. The first part is our opening one. The second part is the opening sentence. The third part is this type of situations. And the fourth part is stating the purpose. Okay, like what type of opening do we need? Now we're going to talk about the writing style and the difference between them before formal and informal.
When it comes to formal, you have to use a formal language. It is simple, clear, and easy to use. You can have sentences that can be short or long with the be plus past participle, which comes out to be passive voice. But I warn you, please be limited in your use of passive voice. Number 2, professional vocabulary. If you are requesting it, it is formal. But if you're asking it, it is informal. This is formal and this is informal. Then we have purchase. Then we have buy as informal. Could is formal and can is informal. Be careful when you're using your informal language while writing. Do not write slangs and contractions like gonna, wanna, gotcha, and yup. Similarly, you will use would here and will here. At your earliest convenience here, or kindly get back to me when you're free. You see the difference? Cannot without contraction and can't with contraction. Again, I would not recommend it because you may forget what type of letter it is. I would highly recommend you stick to using formal language because, as stated earlier, there is no limit to how informal you can be. Here, yours sincerely, and here you can write best wishes. Furthermore, and here you can write also or and. Here you can use the word suggest and here tell. This is the main difference between formal and informal language in IELTS General Writing Task 1. Your informal language can be conversational as if you are talking to your friend, but the biggest problem with conversational language style are that these words that I'm highlighting. You do not use words like gotcha, gonna, wanna, yup. These are just internet slangs, and they do not form the basis of the English language. That is why there is no meaning to how informal you truly can get. And the moment you start using such slangs, it will lose your band score. If you use a formal language for an informal letter, there is no deduction. The IDP and British Council links that I'm sharing here are for information only.
whenever you're writing a letter, and it doesn't matter whether it is a formal or an informal, formal and informal, it is going to be the same for all purposes. So the first thing is you need to read and understand the question. So let's suppose we're going to write a professional letter, okay? Like, work is being done on the street where you live. All right? The noise is disturbing you. Write a letter of complaint. This means that this is a formal letter. Okay? Write a letter of complaint to your local council. In your letter. All right. When it says in your letter, there are always going to be not one, not two, but three bullet points. Always. That is a standard rule for task one, and it always is like this, 3 bullet points. So the first bullet point in this case was introduce yourself. All right. The second one was explain what the problem is, and the third one is suggest solutions to the problem. Problem. Okay, so what you need to understand from this is that this essentially forms the meat, or you'd say the entire body of your letter. And how are you going to address it? The first paragraph of the letter is going to be where we talked about that earlier, that I'm writing to express my dissatisfaction about the work being done on the street where I live. The noise is disturbing me and I'm unable to focus on my task. So the second paragraph is where I talk about myself. The third paragraph, which is basically the second point, is I'll explain what the problem is. And the third one is where I suggest the solutions. So they're going to be about anywhere between. So these 3 paragraphs are going to be there at all costs. Each bullet point has to be explained in 3 or 4 lines for each paragraph with a line break. And then the last point usually is always, in most of the cases, most of the times, it is going to be suggesting solutions, suggesting ideas to any problem. Most of the times the third bullet point is going to be like this. So the first one is going to talk about yourself, and the second paragraph is, the first one is basically the situation. It's just rewriting this into your own words. The second one is introducing yourself. The third one is a second bullet point. The fourth paragraph is the third bullet point, and the last one is going to be conclusion. And in the conclusion, it is going to be I am looking forward to a positive response. Okay, or you can say looking for, or you can say I am looking forward to resolving this matter on an urgent basis. Okay, so this is how you are going to structure it. This is going to be one paragraph, this is going to be another paragraph, this is going to be another paragraph. So 3 paragraphs covering each bullet point. Then it's going to be the intro, which usually is the rewrite of this question. then it's going to be these three paragraphs, and then it's going to be, whoops, it's going to be the fifth one. So this is going to be first, this is the second paragraph, this is the third paragraph, this is the fourth, and this is the fifth paragraph. And the first paragraph is the introduction, which is usually the rewrite of the situation that you're being presented in the letter. So that is how easy and simple it is.